Hello everybody, South Butte here again. Thanks for watching. This is the fourth part of a multi-part series where I will review how I mixed my cover of Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive in Cakewalk's SONAR X1 Producer. In this part, I will walk you through how I mixed my drum tracks. And I will be covering such things as the Soft Synth Session Drummer 3, where I found the drum sounds to build my kit, the location of the drum files, the effects I used, and how I fixed the drum files to get the sounds that I want. So if you look here, when you insert your Session Drummer 3 soft synth, and if you look here on the right hand side, this is the soft synth rack. You go Insert Synth, Session Drummer, and it's very important to select MIDI source, so that's where you put all your MIDI clips that the drum set is playing. Synth track folder, so you can organize all your individual pieces of the kit, and then click on All Synth Outputs Stereo. And what this will do is to split out all the individual instruments. If you see here in the track view, it splits out all the individual instruments from the kick, snare, hats, toms, all the way through to the fourth MIDI pad, so that you can adjust the effects on the individual instruments. And also you can see this track right here. This is the MIDI clip track, where I have split out all the different parts of the drum set for the entire song. And to add multiple, tracks in this one MIDI clip track, what you do is you right click in this area and you go Show Layers and Insert Layers. So as you can see, starting at the top, I have one lane here in this MIDI track that has these red MIDI clips, and these are the lead-ins with a hi-hat hit, so I know when to play the specific instruments. I have the drum set playing for the entire song as well. I have a lane here for the wind, and I have a lane here for the chimes. And if I click D and open up the mixing console, you will see here on the left-hand side I have this icon of the drum set, and it's really easy to insert these icons. All you have to do is right-click, go Load Track Icon, and there's a whole set of folders that comes up for that, so that's really convenient. So this is the MIDI clip track, and it also has broken out all the individual instruments, and you will note that there is a red color here on all these individual instruments, which allows you to assign a specific group. If you just right-click in the area, you go Group and select the color, and any slider, any track that has that color assigned to it will be grouped, so when you grab one slider, it'll move all of them down. So what's great about that is that it will allow you to adjust the individual levels on the pieces of the kit and take one slider, once you assign a color to it in the group, and just move them all down as a whole. And I also have taken all these individual instruments. If you look at here, the output goes to the main drums output subgroup all the way on the right hand side here. So here again, I can take this one slider and adjust the whole entire set up and down to make it fit well into the mix. So I think that's very, very important. So let's look at the drum set, and I'm going to solo this. I'm going to play this in the mix, and then I'm going to show you how the different effects worked to make that drum set sound the way I wanted it to sound. So here is the drum set playing in the mix. I'm going to hit play. Alright, so what I'm going to do is on the master subgroup slider here, I used EQ and I used the Sonitis reverb. And I'm going to show you what it sounds like with these two effects on and off while it's playing in the mix here. Alright, so I'm going to play the drum set in the mix, and then I'm going to turn on and off the individual effects. So here's it in the mix. Now I'm going to turn off the EQ, and I'm going to bypass the reverb. Now I will turn the reverb back on. And I will turn the EQ back on. So as you can see, those two effects, EQ and reverb, really makes that drum set shine. And let me just do a solo on this, and I'm going to play it with the effects on and off as well, just to show you the difference. So this is with both the Sonitis EQ and Sonitis reverb on. EQ off. And reverb off. Now reverb back on. And then EQ back on. So you can see just a huge difference. So let's look at the Sonitis EQ settings that I used. Basically, I did a high-pass filter that starts at 40 Hertz, and it goes up and levels off until about 800 Hertz. Then it goes up to a shelf that starts about 800 Hertz, and it gradually goes up and it starts to shelf and get flat at probably about 7 kilohertz. And what's nice about this Sonitis EQ is that you can go in here, you can change all the different types of filter parameters from low pass to shelf high, shelf low, and peak dip on any of the 6 frequencies that you can adjust. You can adjust the Qs, the frequencies, and the gains. And then on the Sonitis reverb, they have a nice feature where you can go into the reverb and change the low frequency sound of the reverb and also the high frequency sound, and also a lot of different types of parts on that reverb as well. So let me close that out, and let me tell you what I did for finding the drum set sound that I wanted to find. My favorite type of drum set sound is the sound that came from the late 80s rock and roll, like Whitesnake, Rat, those hair bands, and I had a hard time finding the sounds that I wanted to find. And if you open up a Session Drummer here, and just looking at the set, if you click on this area here for the program, it has many different types of sets you can choose, and they have some really great settings. On the acoustic sets, there's probably about 25. One of my favorites here is the Stephen Slate Old Zepp Kit Dry. They have electronic and hip-hop sets, mixed kits, and rhythm machines, a lot of different ones. But I just could not find the set that I wanted. So there is a free website out there that I would highly recommend to go to. It's called freesound.org, and it's an amazing site. They have every sound you can ever want to find, from animals to cars to sound effects, any instrument, and you can go to that website. You have to get a login and a password. And they don't send you spam, by the way, which is nice. And you can download and search for the drum set pieces and download either the waveform or the MP3 file. And then in Session Drummer 3, you can build your kit. And basically what you do is, once you download the individual files, there's something called a sound font file that allows you to reference the individual wave files of those instruments, like the snare, and set the levels for certain velocities. So if you have a velocity of 50, it gets this snare, or a velocity of 120, it gets this snare, so it sounds different. And as you build those sound font files for the individual instruments, then you save it and group them in a program that's called whatever that drum set, whatever name you want to give to that drum set, so that I can pull that drum set up and you can get the sound. So that really helped me build the set that I like. And one of the things that I would have done differently in creating this song, but I didn't know at that point, was I went into the individual wave files that I downloaded and I adjusted EQ, the panning, and the levels before I loaded them into my drum kit. And I think overall it would be better to take those pure sounds, build the kit, and then, as you see here in the console view, go to the individual instruments and then add reverb, EQ, panning, and do that there. I really didn't know that I could do that, and as I became more familiar with SONAR, it made me realize that I should have done that from the beginning. And also, if I just switch this here, this is Session Drummer 3, if I switch to the mixer view, you can also adjust a lot of different settings here as well for all the individual instruments. You can see that there's a stereo width, the tune, left and right panning, and levels. And if you look here on the bottom, this is important as well. Once you insert the soft synth and you insert it as multiple synth outputs, you want to go down through here and just change this to 1 through however many pieces of that kit you're using, so it routes each of those pieces of the kit to a separate track where you can, if you look here in the console view, you can make the adjustments of the individual instruments to get the effects that you want. So I think with having the knowledge that I have now, it's best to take the regular files, put them in, and just make the adjustments on them in the using these effects bins here. And another thing that I think is very important as well is, as you're creating your program or doing your song, you're going to have a lot of tracks, and those tracks will begin to weigh down the processing power of your PC. And as you have more and more tracks, what you'll want to do is, if you look here in the synth bin, synth rack here, if you look at this little snowflake icon, it says freeze synth. This becomes very important because what this will do is take all the effects you have on the individual pieces, the volume changes, the envelopes, and it will write them to a WAV file after you freeze it, and just reference that one WAV file, and that will save a tremendous amount of processing power. Because when I didn't do that, I started getting clicks and pops and delays in my song, and it was creating a problem. So something very important to do. Okay, well that's it for this part. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next segment.